Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? My name is Kyle, you know me as Dragonmar, and welcome to a new video. Today, we'll be talking about timing. I've got some great tips and tricks here for you guys, and a lot of these are focused on understanding where players can be and how you know when they can be there. Timing is one of the things that gets a lot of people in trouble, and it's something that a lot of people don't understand really, especially when they're newer. The more you play, the more you understand it, but I've got some great stuff in this video that'll hopefully help you get a better grasp on it a little bit quicker. With that being said though, guys, I do stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dragonmar. We do tons of VoD reviews, viewer 10 mans, a lot of fun stuff on there. I'd love to see you guys there. Without any further ado though, let's start the video. All right, kicking things off here, tip number one is about understanding how long it takes to get from one position to another. Now, I want to use the C bomb site here on Haven as an example. Now, a lot of players will sort of group up here towards C long if they're on attack, and they'll either position themselves over here or over here on this side of C long, right? And a lot of time they're getting orb control and things like that, but they might also be peeking you and going for kills that way. Now, what's really important to understand here with timing is the time it takes to get from this position over to this position where the enemy is safe. So for example, from here over there. So if I unpause the match timer, as you can see right here, and we'll start right here on 33, to move across takes just about a second, maybe a little bit more. And this is really important to understand. And you're probably thinking like, what the heck am I talking about? Well, it's really important to understand because a lot of times what people do is they'll hold an angle. So let's say a player is towards this left side of C long and you're defending against it. So maybe you're doing a little fighting with them, you're taking some shots at them. Now you duck back and cover. A lot of us, most people aren't going to just stare at this, right? So a lot of us will duck back behind, come back out again. What's really important is to understand how long you obscure your vision and what that means for where the enemy can be, where they could have possibly repositioned. And that's where timing comes into play here. It's understanding how long it takes to get from this left side of C long to the right side. We know it takes about a second, a little bit more. That means that if we're behind cover for more than a second, the enemy could possibly be to the right side of C long. And that is the first lesson in timing, is understanding that the second you do something like this, where let's say, sit by here, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, right? Boom. Now you have to worry about the left side and right side until they show themselves again here on the left side. Very, very important to understand this concept. It's about making sure you're not exposing yourself to the possibility of getting surprised, right? Now, you could keep on holding this left side, but now you're at least aware, okay, there could be an enemy over here. That's very important information for you to understand and to apply this to any position on any map, knowing how long it takes to get to certain places, maybe even from C long into C cubby here. So, if you hide behind this, maybe that guy just ran into cubby. Very important to understand these timings. These are going to help you a lot moving forward. Okay, so tip number 2 is probably the most important thing to take away from this entire video, and that is to always have that internal clock running in your head. And I know it sounds a little wacky, but the idea here is that no matter what position you play, who you play, your role, it doesn't matter. You should always be paying attention to how much time has passed in the given round and sort of what that means for you and where that the enemies can be and things of that nature. It is always important that the second you see an enemy, you make a note and you say, okay, the clock just started ticking on this enemy. I know they were here. Where can they get to in that given amount of time? Maybe 5 seconds pass. Like, okay, they could be here, or here, right? Very, very important to always have that internal clock running in your head. This is something that a lot of people don't really understand at the lower ranks. They maybe will only check the actual physical clock every now and then because they don't have a good feel for the game yet. But once you get a feel for these games and the amount of time left and sort of what happens at certain points during a round, this stuff is super important to get down early. The quicker you can get that clock running in your head at all times, the better off you're going to be, and the less amount of times you're going to find yourself, getting caught out by bad timing, because it's so useful to be able to constantly, without really even having to think about it, just sort of know, okay, I know someone could be here now because I've had this clock running on them. We saw them here. I know they can be here. It makes you play different and it makes you play smarter. All right, so tip number 3 is also super useful because This is something I've seen in VoD reviews recently where people aren't really paying attention to this, and that's your mini map. And there's one thing in particular you want to look for in the mini map, and that is the red question mark. So the red question mark happens when you lose vision on an enemy that was previously spotted. So maybe you see a red like jet emblem of the enemy, and then it turns into a question mark. So that means they're no longer visible. At that point, you should start that internal clock, that timer that I was just talking about. And now you know, okay, we knew this jet's position. Now, every second that passes is a second she could have moved somewhere. And you just sort of take that with you as you're playing the round so that there is never a time when that jet should catch you off guard, because you know exactly when she was last seen and where she was last seen. And you're able to use that position and then use the time it takes to get to certain places to track her down. This is really important. And remember, you're not going to, pinpoint exactly where they are. There's a lot of places people can be. But the point is, you're not going to get caught off guard, right? That's really what we're trying to stop here, is we're trying to stop you guys getting caught off guard or out of position because you're like, oh, how could someone have been there? Well, you saw a jet 15 seconds ago. 15 seconds is a long time. That's enough for almost a full rotation on any map. You know what I mean? They could literally be anywhere if they were running, especially. That's exactly what we're trying to stop here. So very, very important. Whenever you see that question mark on the map, you take note of it and you start that clock running on that player. It'll help you a lot to not get caught off guard. Tip number 4 is so simple, but so useful, and that is to time your rotations. Understanding the timing on every single map is absolutely crucial for like a full rotation or even a partial rotation. So let's take a look. I'm starting the clock at 129, and I'm going to unpause. Now I'm going to go for a rotation over to B. From 129, it's going to take me approximately maybe 6 seconds to get over into B. Now, from this sort of left side of B, let's run over to A. Starting at 115, we're going to begin our run. Remember, we have knife out, so if you have a gun out, little less time, about 6 seconds or so. So that gives us a total rotation of about 12 seconds. Well, why don't we test that out? Starting at 102 here, we'll run across. We'll even run a CT, right? A little bit safer here. Going to take a little bit longer, obviously. As we know, you sort of have to go around that little curve there, even though it's not a curve at all. But look at that. Exactly what we just saw, right? 12 seconds. So now you know the exact time it takes for an enemy to move to any bomb site on this map. Okay, you get a kill here on C. That means it's going to take about 6 seconds from the B player, if they react immediately, to get over here onto C to help out now that they've lost that player on C. This is like one of the most simple concepts I can even talk about, but the amount of players who don't seem to understand the timings on this is just unimaginable. It's so easy, and this goes for things on attack as well. Remember, I'm not just talking about rotations on defense, because you rotate on attack all the time. For example, if someone is just showing pressure over here on C, and I'll start the clock up again for this. Let's say the team shows pressure here, but then all of a sudden, this player is going to move off because maybe their team is taking a site. So starting at 25, as we cross through that little archway, starting at 25 seconds, we know in about 6, 7, 8 seconds, they can be inside of window, right? And we'll start at 14. About 14 seconds here. And we're going to move up here. So 14 to about 5. 14 to about 5 is 9 seconds. We know from window-ish to the top of sewer here. 9 seconds. I know this sounds stupid, but you really should go into a map, every single map in the game, and just try this a little bit. Just, get rough numbers in your head, because then you can use that timing when you actually play your ranked games, and you'll be like, okay, we just saw someone here. I know in about 6 seconds they can rotate to B, and then from B, I know they can take us about 6 seconds to get them over to C. So that gives us, roughly 12 seconds on this rotation. It's really important to understand that, and the exact numbers, remember, the exact numbers are not that important. It's just about rough estimates and making sure you're prepared to take these fights. All right, so tip number 5 is probably my favorite, and it's that after you get a kill, a timer should start in your head, okay? And I really do mean this, and it's kind of an interesting concept, I think, but it's so useful if you put it into practice. And so every single time you kill someone, start a timer. Think, okay, I just killed this Phoenix, on B site on Haven, right? Now, what's gonna happen next? And that's where you start counting those seconds. You say, okay, I know in about 6 seconds, right, just from our previous point, that an enemy player could rotate. But what about in those next few seconds? Okay, if I move up too quickly, the enemy, if they're rotating, they might catch me, they might catch me if I move in about 3-4 seconds there. They might catch me as they rotate in. Or on the flip side, you could catch them off guard if they're trying to rotate. That's where we really want to get here. We want to get to that point where you start thinking about, okay, if I move here, how long will it take and where will the enemies be after they react to this kill, right? Because when you kill someone, generally that prompts a response from the other team. Generally, they are going to slide over, they are going to rotate, and they are going to reposition to now make up for that lost player. This is where the big play opportunity comes in. This is where the big brain plays come in, where okay, I know they're going to send someone over here to rotate. I know that I can get inside of the site in about 3 seconds and cut off that rotation. Bada bing, bada boom. That's exactly what you're looking for. You're looking to start understanding timing to that level. And it all starts by the second you get that kill, start counting that clock, that internal clock, boom. To be like, okay, we got a kill, let's go from here. That's how you do the really cool things the pros do. That's how you do the things the high level players do, because they know, okay, I just killed someone. Now in about 6 seconds, someone's going to show up here. What do? Do I try to stop them and push in a little bit sooner? Do I wait for them and just be ready now? There's a lot of cool opportunities here, but really at the core, it all starts by just being ready. Right, by being ready and by understanding, okay, boom, a kill. I now know I'm on a timer. I'm very limited in what I can do. Very, very important, by the way, if you're on a bomb site. By the way, I didn't say this yet. If you're on a bomb site and you get a kill, you have to understand how exposed you are now and all the different places you can be attacked from. So having that timer go off is really, really good. It's like a defense mechanism. It's like, okay, I know I'm on like borrowed time. I have to move quick. And tip number 6, we're talking post-plant here. So I've switched over to attack here in this custom game. And we're going to pretend the bomb is planted right here. So planted for either long or even a little bit of sewer here of short. So what we want to do, what we were talking about here with timing on bomb defense. So if you're defending on attack, essentially, right? You're going for a post-plant here, trying to defend against the defuse as the defenders retake the site. What we're talking about here is to never peek with 10 seconds left. And I want to talk about why. It's really important to understand the timing in this game. And one of the biggest parts of timing is the 4 seconds it takes to plant a bomb and the 7 seconds it takes to defuse. Understanding both of those is crucial to understanding how to win by time and how to make those big brain plays you see a lot at the higher ranks. So why do I say don't peek at 10 seconds left on a bomb defense? Now obviously there is no actual timer, like unless you're hitting like a timer, physical timer, right? Once you've planted the bomb, it's just counting down and you sort of have to know the sound cues. But with roughly 10 seconds left, it means a few things. One, the round's still going on, which means an enemy is alive. It also means you're probably alive, right? So it takes 7 seconds to defuse the bomb. It takes 3.5 to get that half defuse and get that to stick, right? So if you hear a defuse go off, you know that they don't really have time to cancel at that point unless they get a half. So at 10 seconds, this is the most dangerous time to peek, right? If they tap it once, okay. Then you know you have about 7 seconds left to peek them. So if they were to tap it here, I would not actually want to peek right away. I would want to wait a second or two to see if they're going to stick, and then I would peek them. It's really important to understand this because a lot of the times the second someone will hear a bomb start getting defused with low time left, they'll peek it right away. But a lot of good players are just going to tap that and then hold for you because they know you're going to swing. So when the bomb timer starts getting low, and I'm just using 10 seconds as a point of reference, but whenever it starts getting this low, that's when you want to play very conservative. And you want to say, okay, I'm going to give you about 3 seconds on this because that also will tell you, hey, maybe they are going to actually go for a full defuse if you don't hear a restick or something. Very important to understand this concept of when the timer gets low on a bomb, really, really play for those sound cues and let them have some time to start defusing. Once you give them a little bit of time, that's when you want to peek them. Never, ever peek when they have a full defuse left. Never peek right away. You're always asking to get shot because a lot of the times what someone will do, they'll grab the bomb, they'll tap, and then they'll instantly hang at you like this. They'll instantly hang at you. And that's exactly what you want to avoid. Now, tip number 7 is, once again, something that is a little bit harder to understand for newer players and something maybe they don't do so well. And that is to essentially hold one angle as long as possible and as long as reasonable, right? So what on earth does that mean? look at this sight box. Look how long this is. It would take a considerable amount of time to go from this left side over to this right side. So if a player is standing here, on site, sort of at the entrance to site, if I'm peeking them from right here and then I run over to here, see how long that took? Okay. Now, if I'm the player here, I just got shot at from over here. I should not immediately, once this player leaves my vision, I should not go boom like this, right? Not yet. That's what I'm trying to get across with this point. What you want to do is you want to hold this angle for as long as reasonable. Then you want to transfer over to that new angle, that new position. Because like I just showed you, this is a considerable, most people are not going to run this either. They're going to walk. Shouldn't go like this. In about 3 seconds it takes. Then they're going to peek you, right? Then they're peeking. Or, walk back. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Hello. You know what I mean? This is so important to understand. Because a lot of times what happens, you see this. You're fighting. Okay, that player's gone. Immediately over here. Oh no, do I go back over here? Where do I go? And then they'll just come from the one side you're not looking, of course, and you'll die. Because players know, okay, they're not here. Now they're invisible. But they're slowly moving across to here. Now they can be here. So you hold here for about 3 seconds. Then you turn over here. Maybe even back up a little so this position can't see you if you're very smart. But the point is to understanding the time it takes to get around obstacles. Because this is going to help you tremendously in crosshair placement and just not getting what we like to call timinged. Getting timinged is when you just look away. So if you're holding this angle, getting timing would be, okay, I'm holding. All right, now look over here. The second you look over here, boom, you're dead, right? And this really helps with that. Holding as long as possible. I'm like, okay, in about half a second, I know they could appear from the right side. Not that they're going to. Remember, we don't know that unless you're wall hacking, right? So you say, okay, half a second. All right, now I'll switch over. Now I'm ready for him. Nobody? Okay, I bet they're going to re-peek over here. Right, that's how you want to look at this kind of stuff. It's very important not to just immediately go, okay, they're gone here. They have to be here next. I know they're coming here. Don't do that. Very, very important to get that habit out and to hold angles as long as possible and as long as reasonable. And finally, tip number 8 is about trade timing. So trading is one of the most important parts of this game, and there is a huge timing piece to trading. The first part of trading comes into the fact that you do not want to allow the enemy to have their recoil reset in that fight. This means you only have about approximately, I would say, maybe like half a second to engage with the enemy if you cannot already see them. Because after about that half second, they're going to have time to get that recoil reset and to get that shot lined up on you potentially. And you want to avoid that the best you can. Remember, trading is one of the most important skills you can learn. And the reason it's so important is because essentially you're using the death of a teammate to then even the scoreboard, to even the odds, and to essentially make that kill, almost worthless in a lot of ways, especially if you're on attack. It's actually much better to get a kill on a defender than it is on an attacker. But nonetheless, I digress. Very, very important to know the timings here. So you have about a half a second to get that peak, to get that play, and to get that trade. After that half second is up, you're no longer still in that trade timing window. Now you're out of it, and now you're back into just the straight up 1v1 territory. Now they might be a little lower, but nonetheless, when it's one shot to the head to kill you, you're not in any better position with the sacrifice of your teammate. You've completely let your team down in that situation. So what does this mean for you? It means you have to be up close and personal with your teammates. If you are trying to trade out kills, the timing piece of this is super important. You should never be more than a second behind them in terms of movement, because if you're a second behind them in terms of movement, it means that they can essentially move into a position where they are now untradeable. Okay, untradeable. Very, very important to know this. That does not mean you have to stay on top of them. It just means whenever they're about to enter a position that may have an enemy and you're not able to get there quick enough, that's when you want to be closer to them, right? So if they're just running around on site and you can see every position that they can see, you don't have to be right next to them. But if they're clearing corners, this is very important. If they are clearing corners, that is exactly the time when you want to be essentially on top of them. So you can get into that about half-second trade window and make sure that the enemy cannot reset their recoil. And guys, that is going to conclude the video on some tips and tricks for timing and how to master timing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Timing is actually something I really love, getting better at and understanding more as I play the game. Obviously, the more you play maps, the more it helps because you just start understanding the rotation so much better. But when you can really get this stuff down, it gives you such an advantage and you start catching people off guard so much more. It's actually incredibly rewarding. So hopefully some of these tips were useful. Remember, if you guys do have questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. I'll definitely answer them. But with that being said, if you did enjoy the video, hey, make sure to leave a like. Hope you guys subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, and peace.